It means a great deal to our season, Greg. We respect F&M's program. They've always had a strong program, and we feel our program is just as strong, and we need to prove that on the field. And if we do get this game, it'll mean a lot to us because we'll be over the 500 mark, and it'll guarantee us a winning season for the second year in a row. And it'll just show the people that follow Gettysburg football that we're for real and we have a winning tradition now.
I met Barry first when he came to campus in 1975 for an interview. Joe Sable was the head coach, looking for a defensive coordinator, defensive coach. And since I was on the staff as an athletic trainer, Joe asked if I would be a part of the interview team, so I did. I think the most important things that Barry brought when he came for the interview was his knowledge of the game, and I think his knowledge of defensive schemes, and I think that's what Joe Sable was looking for. We interviewed some other candidates who did not have near that kind of knowledge, and I think Barry's sincerity was really, really impressive for Joe and for the staff. I think he brought to the table his coaching ability, but also his sincerity for people, and I think that was really critical at that time for us because, you know, Joe didn't stay real long, and then Barry became the head coach. And I think in those couple of years he established who he really was as a coach and as a person. And I think that's what was so impressive about all that to me.
I consider that the legacy that Barry is leaving here is not as a football coach. It is a humanitarian. And as you'll find out, he was such a, as you notice over the years, he was such a tremendous model for most of these kids. He had a good rapport with the kids because of his faith background, his moral values, his sense of humor, and his organization. I think that was the main thing because a lot of people come back. I've seen letters that the kids have written and have been so so enamored by his personal effect on their lives. They've just drawn an awful lot. So I think that that's the main thing that you're going to find now, and there's no denying that his legacy with what he's done with his number of victories that he has, top coach in Division III, the championships that he's had, the number of kids that he's brought through in All-American, Little All-Americans, whatever, and the respect that he's had over the years from a lot of different coaches.
A little bit different perspective on this than most of the other people in this video, because when Barry came to Gettysburg College in 1975, I was a student and he was coming as the track coach. I had no idea he was the football coach, I just knew he was a track coach, and he happened to coach football. Well, obviously it turned out it was the other way around. He was a football coach who was going to be the head coach, and the track position was open and he grabbed the head coach position. But we never looked at him like that as track athletes. And then I came back in 1982 to be an assistant track coach, and then he was a colleague of mine for 12 years as I coached here. And he was the same guy who always was, funny, sincere, hardworking, demanding the most of his athletes, and he was wonderful to work with.
I signed a bonus contract to play football up in Canada with the Toronto Argonauts. Did that early, and we were going to the national championship for the 4x1. And because of that, I kind of laid back in some of the sprints, and I was running the relay. Said, "That's good, Curb. You know, we're gonna do that." So I ran, and I remember he was running me to the airport because I was late for getting up there, which was a little bit of a problem. He says, "Curb, I got two good things. I got a good thing and a bad thing to tell you." I said, "Really, Coach?" He said, "Well, you're an All-American. You guys did an outstanding job. I knew it was going to happen." I said, "Thanks, Coach." The second thing is, you didn't graduate. I said, "What? I didn't graduate?" He said, "No." He said, "You didn't pass Russian." I said, "You're kidding me." So he looked at me, he says, "Curb, it'll be all right. You get through everything." And we kind of have a heart-to-heart. He gave me a hug, and I looked at him. I said, "Wow, Coach, you know," I said, "You know, I'm sorry you're the bearer of the news." He says, "I'm sorry to be telling you this too as you're going up there." But through that, he and I have kept contact, and when I see him, it's like I never left.
And now I live in Harrisburg, so I'm real close. So I'm on campus a lot on my own for coming back for games. From in town for business, I always stop, and his door is always open. He always has time for anybody who comes back. He wants to know how I'm doing, how my family's doing. I kind of liken it when I come back, and after all these years that he's been here, it's the opposite of when you're in college and you go home. and you see family that you haven't seen for a long time, or friends that you went to high school with. I mean, that's Coach Streeter. He's part of your family when you, after 39 years. It's just, he's that important and that special to all of his players.
When I think of Barry Streeter and the image of Barry Streeter, here you have this successful coach who's had nothing but success in the manner in which he teaches and leads these men year in and year out. The first thing, though, that comes to mind are those eyes, those Barry Streeter eyes. When I was a student here, those eyes were very intimidating. I know that because I used to work for Coach Streeter, and he probably doesn't even remember, but he's very busy doing his work, and you gingerly knock on the door, and there's those piercing eyes that were, at the time for me, very intimidating. But over the years, I've learned that those eyes are nothing like intimidating, although they are, but they are filled with passion. And over the years, those what once were intimidating eyes became eyes of passion, eyes of concern, eyes of wisdom, and eyes that I've come to rely on throughout my tenure and my experience with Coach Streeter.
Well, Barry and I, our relationship goes back to when I was a college football player at the University of Delaware. Barry was a graduate assistant coach there, so we've known each other for a long time. When I graduated from Delaware, I took a football coaching job at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point. And, we used to play Gettysburg all the time. So I would see, Barry when we would come down here, or they would come up to Kings Point, and we had a lot of good games over the years there. And I remember one year we had come down here, and I remember, talking with Barry after the game. And I said, "Boy," I said, "you got a beautiful situation down here. This is great." I said, "If you ever had a job opening," I said, "I'd really, would really love to come down here." And I would look back at that. So Barry is the reason why, I'm here at Gettysburg, and really for my whole family, for Regina and her career, my coaching career here, my boys, all growing up here. We owe all of that to the opportunity that Barry gave me to come here and as an assistant football coach.
He's a football guy who loves and eats and sleeps football during the season, and yet has a lot of dignity and class in how he cares for kids and how he not only cares for them, but goes way out of his way to make sure that they're doing okay, to make sure that life is going good for them, He's one of those guys who talks a tough front, but I think the true man, which makes him a man, is the caringness and the ability to really, really want to listen to kids and do everything he can to help them feel better about themselves, to help, their self-esteem, to help their dignity. And I think if I could say anything about Bear, it would be how he handles that combination of being a football guy and the sensitivity that maybe he doesn't want to talk about all the time, but he definitely has, in how he cares for kids. And I think, to me, that's why he's so endearing to so many players that he coached.
Being that I'm with the football team, before practice, after practice, I've had the pleasure, actually, of watching Barry impact young men and watch them grow for the 4 years, and even after when they come back as alums, and the impact that he has on these kids that just are so grateful for just to get to know Barry and to have them influence his life. It's just, he just grew them up with men of integrity, and that's what his program's about. And they come back, and I love when the alumni come back because I enjoy them as well. But Barry's just his impact of growing boys into men is incredible.
Coaching at its core is about impacting lives. And when you have an opportunity to coach a young man or woman and you can impact their lives in a positive way, that's greatness in a lot of respects. And that's what Coach was able to do for so many young men, including myself, was to impact them in a positive way, to show them firsthand how to live their lives, and firsthand how to prioritize things, and firsthand how to be a gentleman and how to act with class and how to act with character. And those are things that are lessons that every player that's played here has taken from Coach and have hopefully have been able to go on and apply them to their daily life.
I mean, I feel his legacy is way beyond football. I mean, he's been a great coach. He understands the game really well. He loves the sport. I mean, he's grew my affection for the sport. Just learning from him, I've just become to love the sport. I understand it even more than I even could think of. But I think besides football, he just helps us grow into better men. I remember coming in freshman year, I mean, I knew a little bit about thinking about after school, how to handle myself in like different situations, but I definitely think he helped us develop and grow into like adulthood, because even when you come out of high school, you're still unsure of what you have to do or what's next. Like, you're always just thinking about the now, and he really got you thinking and always like thinking about what's going to happen next and how, like, as men we should be treating ourselves and treating other people, and just we represented the school in a bigger picture than just as athletes.
Since Barry and I have been discussing, his retirement and the eventuality that one day he would step down from his post here at Gettysburg College, I've had a lot of time to reflect on that. And, it's emotional for me, because in this day and age, I think it's rare to find somebody who is willing and able to be honest and transparent and can have the conviction in their heart that it's about integrity, it's about character, and if that means me calling you into question on something, I'm going to do that. And the players who played for him, they appreciate that. I'm sure it wasn't always easy for them, and I'm very much a believer in having courageous conversations and having to have difficult conversations when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. But clearly Barry has done that, and he's done it in such a way that student athletes just have the utmost respect for him. Barry was real, and for me, that authenticity and the courageous conversations he's been able to have with all of us, whether it be student athlete or fellow coach, to me has just had a tremendous impact and has been extraordinarily influential for all of us, and we'll miss that.
Gettysburg's been awesome to me, been great to me. I would say, you always want to win more championships. You always want to win more games. You can think back. I can think back on probably 15 or 20 games that shoulda, woulda, coulda, but they didn't. And so, I know that we tried to do it with integrity and with high character, and that to me that's important.